Hello, welcome. Today we're gonna do one that's a little different. A lot of directors for a lot of the movies that we've been talking about so far are directors that either directed one or two movies only, or directors that got their start in 1970 and went on to make a lot of other movies later. We haven't really talked too much about a lot of directors that had been making a lot of horror movies before 1970. So today, we're going to talk specifically about the movie that translates to $5 for an August Moon. You can see here that the original poster is Italian, and the director is the giallo and horror and Italian exploitation master, Mario Bava. So let's see if I can try and say this in Italian. Cinque bambole per la luna d'agosto. I have no clue if I said that right, but it was a pretty good guess anyway. $5 for an August moon. Now, before we talk about this movie, let's take a look. Here we have the man himself, Mario Bava. Started working in the film industry in the 1940s. His father was a cinematographer all the way back at the beginning of Italian film. He himself has actually been the cinematographer for more than 60 films, and he's directed roughly 30. So we're not going to talk about all his films, but we are going to talk about all his horror films up to $5 for an August Moon. So, this is a little personal history. Before we even talk about his first movie, I wanted to say that I was watching a lot of Dario Argento movies, and I was digging them, and I was looking into the giallo film subgenre, which, if you've been watching these, you know giallo is the Italian murder mystery subgenre of horror. It's a little more grisly than your typical mystery movie, so it does fall under the horror umbrella as far as pretty much anyone that matters is concerned. Now, I've been watching Argento's movies like Suspiria, Profondo Rosso or Deep Red, Phenomena, and The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. I love all those movies. And I was reading that before The Bird and the Crystal Plumage, which was Argento's first giallo in 1970. There was Mario Bava, who made the first giallo on film. That was called The Girl Who Knew Too Much. His second one, which was put out a year later in 1964, was Six Women for the Assassin, or Blood on Black Lace. So here is the American Blood on Black Lace poster, and this movie was brilliant. It was so good. The mystery in it, I could not figure it out. There were so many suspects. I just had no clue who was doing it, and the women were all killed in different ways, which is kind of like a proto-slasher thing, all the way back in 1964. It was in color. It had a great score. It used the primary colors, which comes up a lot in later films, and it was just great. So I saw this. It was amazing, and I said, wow, I need to watch as much from this guy as I possibly can. So I went back and I tried to find this movie from 1957, The Vampires, also known as Lust of the Vampire in America. I could not find this in English. I could only find it in Italian with no subtitles, so I didn't watch the whole thing, but one day I will go back. So that's 1957. Go forward a little bit, and we have this movie. Now, the Italian would be La Maschera del Demonio. I think I said Maschera with a really poor American accent. This is the Mask of the Demon, or the Mask of Satan, as it was called in the UK. And you can see the mask right there. And in the United States, it was called Black Sunday. Now, this did pretty well in the United States. I personally was not a huge fan of the movie, although for 1960 it was pretty decent. It was in black and white, and it's basically about witches and vampires. And I like this poster much better because at the beginning of the movie, this witch is killed, strung up, a spiky mask is put on her face, and she, I believe, is burned at the stake if I remember correctly. And then later she's reincarnated and wreaks havoc on Italy or wherever it was taking place. It was a period piece, Gothic horror. May not have actually taken place in Italy. I think it did. It might have taken place in like the Holy Roman Empire or something like that. So one kind of cool thing about Bava, and all the good horror directors do this, they don't stick to one subgenre. So we have vampires, we have witches, and then we have this. I tre volte della paura. That means the three faces of fear. So this is an anthology. First we have a little short called The Telephone, where we have a stalker calling a woman on the phone. This came out in 1963. So in the 90s we had Scream, someone's calling, saying they're gonna kill Drew Barrymore. Go back, 1974, we've got Black Christmas, stalker is calling, gonna kill the women inside the house. A lot of people think that's the first Stalker on the Phone movie, but this came out in 1963, 11 years before Black Christmas. Now that story isn't particularly interesting. It's just a stalker calling on the phone, comes trying to kill the women. Not that deep. There's a little bit of a twist in it, but it's not really that great. But I'll leave you to go see that one. Then there was this story called the Vordulak. That's in a different language, but it's basically a vampire story, except the Vordulak is like a vampire that only like kind of haunts his loved ones. Instead of just like having any random victim, they like to go haunt their loved ones. The third part of this was really the best part. It was a medium, a woman who talks to the dead, who dies, and then the woman who comes to check on her, I think she's the coroner, she comes and steals her ring, and then she's haunted by the woman later. So that was a pretty fairly decent anthology for 1963. It was called Black Sabbath in the United States. This poster bothers me though because you've got a headless horseman on the poster and there's no headless horseman in the movie. So that kind of bugs. There is a horseman and there is a headless corpse, but it doesn't ride the horse. It's dead. So moving on, in 1963 as well, we have La ragazza che sapeva troppo, which is also known as The Girl Who Knew Too Much. Now, unfortunately, I have not been able to track this one down yet, but I really need to because this is the first giallo ever put to film. So I definitely got to find this one as soon as possible. Moving on, we've got La frusta e il corpo. Now, this movie, I gotta say, was unwatchable for me. You've got Christopher Lee, who is this guy who basically likes to whip women. The movie it translates to The Whip and the Body, and he like whips this lady. Then later he gets killed, and then later he like comes back as a ghost. And a major problem for me about this one is that it's dubbed in English, but you don't have Christopher Lee doing his own lines. So you don't even get to hear his voice. Beyond that, it was visually too dark. You couldn't see what was really going on, and there's a lot of dead air time in the movie, which just makes it super boring. So unfortunately, I can't say Bava is completely flawless because this one was rough. All right, after that we had Sei donne per l'assassinino, which is 6 Women for the Assassin, also known as Blood and Black Lace. Talked about that one earlier, so that was 1964. And then in 1965, he had Terrore nello Spazio, which means terror in space, also known as Planet of the Vampires, which is kind of a stupid American title because there are 0 vampires in the movie. And this scene down here, which looks sick, with this giant skeleton monsters being shot at with like some kind of space-age guns, yeah, that doesn't happen. So forget that poster, even though it looks nice. But this poster is accurate, and the movie is good. This movie, right away, it reminded me of a cross between Alien and Lost in Space. This came out in 1965. Alien, of course, came out in 1979. I read later that Dan O'Bannon, who wrote Alien, was at least partially influenced by this movie. Although I think he may be denying the connections because this movie does include one alien race interacting with a second alien race, and they actually look like these people, except in the movie they're all dead and skeletal. And they have ruined that race, and then the humans get there, and then they interact with the humans and kind of take over the humans. Now, if you've ever seen Alien, it's literally the same exact plot. Not only that, but both movies feature the aliens making a distress signal, which is what attracts the humans there. It happens in both movies. I mean, Alien could basically be a remake of this movie, except Alien's just done way better because it was done in 1979 instead of 1965. It's literally the same plot, but it's pretty cool to see it done 14 years before Alien ever came out. By the way, Alien's one of my most favorite movies, so I'm a little biased on all that. Okay, after 1965, we had Operazione Paura. Now, I figured that Paura means fear. I believe this would translate to Operation Fear. This is a ghost story. It's like I was saying, Bava does also. We got vampires, witches, murder mysteries, voordulaks, ghosts, and this is another ghost story, okay? It was released as Kill Baby Kill in the United States. This one, like The Whip in the Body, was really rough for me to watch. I could not finish it. Sorry to all of you Bava fans out there. I like a lot of his stuff, but I couldn't do this one. Okay, and then we come to $5 for an August Moon. Okay, that's what we're talking about with the 1970 Giallo film. He went back to Giallo. This is his third Giallo, okay? Let's talk about this one. Now, Blood and Black Lace is an absolutely brilliant masterpiece, okay? And it has a great score. Now, the music you've been listening to during this video is the score for $5 for an August Moon. It doesn't set the right tone for a murder mystery. This is like party music for 1970. Now, it kind of makes sense because the story opens up with a party. We've got 9 rich Italian people partying on a private island owned by one guy. And of course, since it's a giallo, we end up having people getting murdered one by one. Now, the movie is between 90 and 100 minutes long. And I gotta say, about the first hour of it is quite dull. People start dying probably half an hour in. But here's one major problem with this movie. Unlike Blood and Black Lace, you don't see any of the kills. You find the dead body and you don't know who did it, okay? Now, most giallos I've seen have crazy death sequences. All of the Argento movies do, and so did Blood on Black Lace. And I've seen some other ones too, like Don't Torture a Duckling by Lucio Fulci, and I saw The Case of the Scorpion. That one was very good. I've seen All the Colors of the Dark, which was quite a weird one because there was like some kind of pagan or satanic cult involved. So that had a different angle. But this one, oh wait, I gotta also mention the Weekend Murders. That was also known as oh shit, silent something of the silent pistol because somebody was sniping people. That was a really good one. Okay, these are all Italian movies. Okay, $5 for the August Moon. You don't see any of the people get killed. You just have the characters happen upon their dead body. Problem number 2. There's 9 characters in the movie, and every time they find one of the characters dead, there's one of the characters that's not there. I was gonna be so mad if that character ended up being the killer. Luckily, she only kind of was, okay? So, this is more so a problem because every time all the other characters happen upon a dead body, they start accusing each other, and they never accuse the girl who's not there. Like, that doesn't make sense, okay? Also, it probably would have been a stronger story move if the girl who you obviously are suspecting, because she's never there, would have gotten killed off at some point, but she doesn't. So you really think it's her up until the very end, and then they kind of flimsily explain how it wasn't her. Now, the last complaint about this movie is that there is one scene where a guy, was it a guy or a woman? No, it was a guy. Guy has a gun, shoots another guy who's wearing a white shirt. The guy falls onto a white couch and then the floor, and there's no blood. And he was shot multiple times with a gun. White shirt, white couch, no blood. What's the point? On top of that, there's no like kickback when he's like supposedly shoots in the gun. There's no like jerky motion. There's no like smoke or whatever. Like, there's no indication that he even pulls the trigger because it's kind of zoomed out, and you just hear this, dubbed pistol shot go off, and it was just like, there's no gratification in this movie from a horror aspect at all. And the writing was just okay. I think Bava co-wrote this one. I've seen conflicting credits on that. But he wasn't the official writer. It was another Mario that was the official writer. But I think he helped out with the story. It's just, after doing Blood and Black Lace, which was so good, I don't know how he could really put this one out. Unfortunately, he's got a very checkered reputation, in my opinion, because at least 2 of his horror movies were unwatchable. Some of them were excellent. And then you got this one. So that's my take on it. I'm giving this one a 5 out of 10, okay? I would give Terror in Space 8 out of 10, and I would give Blood and Black Lace 9 out of 10, for the record, okay? And Black Sabbath probably like 5 out of 10, because I really only liked one of the 3 stories, but that particular story was at least a 7. So we're going to leave it at that. I would give this one a watch, but I don't think I would give it a second watch. Oh, my favorite part, and it really stuck out as the coolest, most artistic part of the movie, is there is a fight scene between 2 characters, and one of them gets pushed onto a chemistry set type table. And for some reason, there are all sorts of different marbles on the table, like 100 of all different sizes and colors. And the marbles all fall and roll around and then roll down these stairs, and then a bunch of them knock into this wall. And for some reason, each different marble plays a different musical note when it hits the wall, and you get this really cool tune, way better than anything you just heard on that soundtrack that I just played. And it makes this crazy little tune, and then some of the marbles fall into this hot tub, and then this woman sitting in the hot tub with 2 slit wrists, and it's like, wow. Like, that shot was totally perfect. And I wish there could have been more interesting stuff like that in the rest of the movie. Oh, one more complaint now I just remembered. The reason that they're all on this private island having a party is because the guy that owns the island is offering scientists $1 million for his formula. And they don't say what the formula does. They just imply that it's very important. So the whole plot hinges around this scientist who has this formula, and they never say what the formula does. So that's not great. Yeah, also it's kind of funny that it's $1 million. Like, obviously the movie's Italian, so the original amount was not $1 million. It was like some kind of lira, probably like 3 trillion lira or something, because their money was out of control with the inflation. Although I don't know about in 1970, but when I visited Italy in 1993, I remember I paid 10,000 lira for a pizza. So I'm sure that you would need to blackmail someone or bribe someone or pay someone off with a much higher number than $1 million. All right, that is it. Mario Bava. Very soon I'm going to be watching another 1970 Mario Bava movie. And hopefully I like that one a little bit more than this one. But the man is still brilliant because Blood on Black Lace is completely groundbreaking. All right, see you next time.